area where like they're going to want to go to Chase in the back of the end zone here in a little fade pattern. So here we go. They should be able to.
Nope, they're throwing.
Nope. Oh, and it was to Jamar Chase, too. Son of a bitch. They wanted to go to him.
It's Sports Rage Tonight with Gabe Morency. Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific. On the SportsGrid Radio Network. The new SportsGrid app is now available on iOS and the App Store. Experience the ultimate sports betting companion that provides personalized content from your favorite hosts. In-depth matchup previews, game and prop picks, live odds, stats, scores, and more. All in one place. And of course, on the SportsGrid app, you can tune into our live television and radio coverage anytime. On the go, wherever you are. Download the SportsGrid app on the iOS App Store now. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The Technology Minute with George Capalbo.
In case you've been worried about AI taking your job and destroying the world economy, perhaps fear not. A large, well-known fast food chain is quietly dropping its AI-powered drive-through automated order-taking system after some mishaps.
Would you like extra sauce with your 2,100 orders of chicken nuggets?
Believe it or not, these are actual scenarios.
I'm sure you asked for 40 dozen pounds of butter.
The fatal flaw? Voice recognition AI that can't identify misidentified spoken orders.
I just want you to know that I have complete confidence in the long-term success of this mission. By the way, here is your 4-gallon van of bacon-topped caramel ice cream.
Yahoo! Follow me at Chicapalbo on X and stay tuned to The Technology Minute for more cool stuff like this.
Days are getting cooler.
The shadows are getting longer.
You know what that means. It's football weather. So bundle up and keep it here for all the latest strategies and gridiron information. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Please welcome.
It's the opening kickoff with Carver and Lisi.
All right, here we go. Carver and Lisi with you. Sports Grid Radio, Sirius XM, channel 159. Great to have you with us here on the grid. 844-843-6879 is the number on a Tuesday night where we have a lot going on. Plenty of NFL to get to. We got lots of hockey tonight, which is good because George is here. There is a lot of NBA, too, with this dopey NBA Cup that begins tonight. Their in-season, or regular season, in-season tournament that they have with all the crazy courts, and at least guys maybe half trying, as opposed to what they usually do in the regular season. We have the new college football playoff rankings that are getting released tonight in between that big doubleheader in college hoops. So there is a lot going on, that is for sure. Mike Carver with you. Sans Joe out on assignment, and I believe, like, not even just tonight. I think Joe's not here tomorrow night either, if I remember correctly. So I think we'll see Joe again. We'll see Joe around Christmas. It's probably when we'll get him back here on Carver and Lisi. But you do got me, and of course, because it's Tuesday, you have gentleman George. George Kurtz is with us as always, too. Hi, George. How are you?
I'm well, Mike. Well, sort of well. Not about as well as you can be. Be a Cowboy Island fan, you know. And so the Yankees will take me off in a little bit as well when Juan Soto signed with somebody else, and so Sasaki's with somebody else. So it is what it is. You know, I haven't jumped off any bridges, so I'm here.
Don't worry, George. We're gonna get to the Cowboys at some point. You know that I always do with you. We will get there. There's a lot to unpack in a season that is slip sliding away. Or shall I, maybe already gone, probably in your eyes, already gone this season. But we will get to them at some point. And the Soto stuff is going to infuriate you. I've prepared myself, George. At least I don't expect him to come back to the Yankees at this point. So if he does come back, it'll be a bonus. I don't expect him to come back. I'm expecting him to go to the Mets at this point as well. So I've already, George, prepared myself for all of these things It's like the old saying, right, George? Always expect the worst, and you'll never be disappointed. So that's kind of my angle with Soto. I fully expect, like, he's meeting with Toronto and meeting with the Red Sox even before the Yankee and the Met meetings, which are courtesy me. I don't know. Toronto's the type of team, George, that we always talked about him, mercenary, taking the most money. They could be a team that does that offers him $1 more than anybody else. I could maybe see that, and he'd probably take it too. He don't care. He'll take all that money.
The problem is this. You and I both know that Hal is not offering him the most money. All right, so if he wants the most money, it will not be with the Yankees. All right, it won't be. All right, I think we all know that. The two teams that are going to offer him the most money are the Mets and the Jays. And the Jays went heavy after Ohtani last year. At one time, we actually thought Ohtani might be heading there. But it didn't work out. I think the Jays will be right there. They might offer him the most money. Maybe they'll outspend Cohen. Then the question will be for Soto, is that where you want to play? Do you want to play north of the border? A team that, okay, we always think is going to be in contention, but never, ever is, for whatever reason. So that'll be interesting. Or does he want to go, cross county, go to Queens and play for the Mets here, which you'll get, a truckload of money as well. And that's assuming, by the way, that Toronto will outspend Cohen. I don't know they will. Maybe Cohen's going to be the big winner here, and he's outspending everybody, and that's where he's going to be here. And then you throw in, you want to throw in a dark horse. Mike, could he go back to the Nationals? His brother plays in that organization. I mean, they have money. I don't know if it's a dark horse.
I don't think they have the kind of money to compete with Cohen or even the Yankees. I agree with you that Hal will not offer him the most money, but I don't even think the Nationals could get into the Hal range. I don't think. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's possible that they've been saving. Maybe they've got a couple of cookie jars laying around that they've been filling the money up with. But that would be very hard for me to believe. And you notice, very quiet. Dodgers, very quiet. You haven't heard.
I don't think he goes there.
And
I don't think he goes.
And you brought up the other guy, Sasaki. I guess the Dodgers get every Japanese pitcher now. They just get them all. They just go.
Do you think
I saw somebody bring this up? Is there a way to police this, George? With the international play, isn't the players coming over from Japan being posted? Should there be another way? Like you can only sign one every 3 years or one every 2 years. Should there be some sort of a cap with that to spread it around so that everybody that's coming from the Japanese league can't all just sign with the Dodgers? Like, can they make a rule like that? I wouldn't mind it. Why not? Do it.
I wouldn't mind it either, but the MLBPA will never vote for it.
No.
That'll never happen. No. They won't give that up. They want the other player. Although in this case, Sasaki's not going to make that much money. He can only make whatever the largest amount of international bonus money each team has. The Dodgers, by the way, would be one of the lowest teams. So if he does play for the Dodgers, he'd have to play for one of the lowest amounts. Don't get me wrong. The highest amount teams have $7+ million they can offer him. The Dodgers have $5+ million. So you're only talking a difference of $1.5 million, $2 million a year. But he's not. He wouldn't be afraid for a couple of years where he can make the big time Yamamoto money here. So it is what it is.
And that's another thing that's weird, George. How that works, like how Yamamoto was able to get the big money. This guy's not like it's just so bizarre how they do all this stuff, the dopey posting rules and everything that.
It's weird.
It
needs to be redone, especially since now we're seeing so many top flight Japanese players. We're not talking, this guy's a number 4 starter or the backup center fielder. We're talking top flight players here. So there probably does need to be a better way. I'd be lying to you, Mike, if I know of a better way. But I do think they need to come up with something here.
I don't know it either, George.
That's the problem, right? I mean, we can all complain about it. What's your solution? I don't have one. I just don't have one.
Certainly don't have one. That's for sure. We do have hockey tonight, George, for you, including the 14-1 Winnipeg Jets at the Garden against the Rangers tonight. 1-1 early in the second period in that game. We have Ottawa up 1-0 in Toronto against the Leafs, and the Devils have a 1-0 lead late in the first period in Sunrise against the Panthers. So we have 3 games going. Bruins are in St. Louis, about to drop the puck right now. An hour away from the Islanders starting there. It's no longer like even it's the Western Canadian plus Seattle trip now for everyone when they make these trips. They've kind of put Seattle in with the Western Canadian trip for the East Coast teams. And the Islanders will be on that starting tonight in Edmonton. You have Columbus and Seattle, and the Flames and the Canucks going tonight as well. So a good night of hockey for you, George. I'm sure you're involved.
Oh, very involved. All right. Probably more so because we're doing the show here tonight, so it gives me something here. Real quick, I'm on the under Winnipeg Rangers here. Didn't play a team. I think it's expected to be a good game. Senators had beaten the Maple Leafs, I think 3 or 4 straight times here.
Yeah.
No Austin Matthews, of course, for the Maple Leafs, so give me the Sens there. On the over there, though, so that's not looking too good here. Sens are winning, but we only got 1 goal here just into the second period. Under in the Devils Panthers for obvious reasons. 2 good defensive teams, 2 good goalies there. Don't have much scoring. Bruins, St. Louis, both teams not playing all that well here. Give me the Blues. I'll take the plus money with the Blues there. Although plus money didn't help me last night with the Vegas Golden Knights at home. And of course, their first home loss is when I'm betting on them. Thanks, guys. Thanks so much there. No shock that I'm on the Edmonton Oilers to beat the New York Islanders goal line. Not the minus 235 there. Undecided about a total in that game yet, Michael. The Islanders have been scoring some goals. Maybe we can get the over 6.5 there. Plus money, Mike. I think I'm leaning the over there, and of course, give me the Kraken over
there. I would take Edmonton lay the puck line tonight. They'll probably smash the Islanders in that game. Smash them.
Agreed.
No shot. I got no confidence whatsoever in the Islanders right now. We'll come back, and I'll also run through all the hoops that are going on. We got plenty of football too. Carver and Lisi, SportsGrid Radio, Sirius XM 159. We're back in.
Fall is coming. Don't look like an idiot at work. Know your stuff. Football and everything else. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Know someone with a drinking or drug problem? Learn how to get sober after we share these stories.
I was 35 with 2 beautiful children when my life and addiction started to spiral out of control. After my divorce, I went into a depression cycle and started drinking more often and using prescription drugs. After my second DWI and arrest, my ex-husband threatened to take our children away from me.
I was 17 when I became addicted to heroin and meth. I thought I could quit on my own, but I couldn't. It hit me when I was arrested.
Get sober now. Your private insurance may cover costs and we'll get you here. It's simple. Just call Elite Rehab Placement right now. Please, don't wait. Your life matters to us.
800-959-6348. 800-959-6348. 800-959-6348. Call right now before it's too late. That's 800-959-6348.
Moneyline.
I wonder if Jerry's owner's box was in the sun the entire time where they couldn't see the game. Would they put up curtains? You know they would. But the fact that Jerry sits on the sideline is like, ooh, isn't it a nice aesthetic where like the sun comes through those windows during the game? Meanwhile, it's costing his team touchdowns, and there's no reason for it to happen.
Catch Moneyline with Donnie Rightside and Kevin Walsh. Weekdays, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 Pacific. On the SportsGrid Radio Network.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
When the weather cools off, Major League Baseball playoffs heat up. Sit tight. The World Series is coming. Keep it here for every bit of the action with strategies and information to give you the winning edge. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Yeah. And we're back. Carver and Lisi, SportsGrid Radio, Sirius XM 159. Great to have you with us here on the grid on a Tuesday night. So Carver with you, Sans Lisi, Joe out on assignment as he's looking for several coaches after the weekend that have upset him. Not as much as last week with Lincoln Riley, but he's looking for a few. In fact, he needs all week to do it as he won't be back with us till Friday night. Here on CNL. George Kurtz is with me, so we're going to do lots of football tonight, and we've got the hockey going on. I will keep everyone up to date because normally everyone knows this. I'm not the biggest fan of regular season NBA games, especially this early in the season. I don't like betting on things where I don't know the full effort that's being given on any given night, or who cares and who doesn't, and things like that. And the NBA regular season, for the most part, is extremely meaningless. This NBA Cup, I got involved with it last year, which was their regular season in-season tournament. And, it seemed like, for the most part, there was a little bit of a higher level of competition. Obviously not playoff level competition, but slightly a few notches above the normal November or December regular season game. So that got underway tonight. So all these games that are happening are from that NBA Cup, which is Tuesdays and Fridays here for the next few weeks. Celtics lead the Hawks 65-54. That's at the half. They were laying, I think, 16.5 in that game. Magic are up 11 on the Hornets in Orlando, 58-47. The Pistons are up 6 on the Heat at the half. They were getting 1.5 at home, and now they're laying 3.5 at halftime. The Knicks are in Philadelphia against the Sixers. They're up 38-32. Of course, you had Embiid returning for Philly tonight. I think I just saw that he went back to the locker room already, so that was very short-lived for him. Bucks are up 8-5 on Toronto. That just got underway. Suns, Jazz later. Mavericks and the Warriors, of course, the big thing there is Klay Thompson returning to face his old team for the first time. You got the T-Wolves and the Blazers on the late night side of things as well. As far as the college basketball, the big game is this Kansas-Michigan State game in Atlanta, 57-52. Pretty good game here with they're at the under 8 timeout, with Kansas laying 6.5 live. You have Duke, Kentucky following that game in Atlanta with Cooper Flagg. In between that, on ESPN is when they're going to reveal this week's college football playoff rankings. So that is something that we'll keep our eye on as well. All right, there you go, George. I did all the housekeeping for the stuff that George isn't a big fan of, which is the NBA, the college football, the college basketball. We were able to get that stuff in and out fairly quick and easy. So I am involved a little bit on these NBA games. A couple guys for some threes, maybe tonight. And listen, Klay has sucked for Dallas so far. But if not now, when? If you're ever going to bet Klay Thompson to do anything, it might as well be tonight back in San Fran against the Warriors. So I think I have him at a big price for 25-plus points. Maybe he goes off and hits a bunch of threes against his old team. I'm on this Cat Towns boost on FanDuel in the Knicks game, him to score 20 and the Knicks to win at plus $1.80. So we'll see if we can get that in the barn as well here over the next few hours. Matthias is with us as well tonight, and we will eventually get to him. I'm not going to do it right now because there's only like 2 or 3 minutes left in the segment, but Matthias, as we like to say on this show, George, you got to go to the podium. Usually we do it on Mondays, but we're not on Mondays during football season anymore, so it'll be on Tuesdays, and Matthias has to go to the podium after a completely gutless performance from his Atlanta Falcons in New Orleans against the Saints on Sunday. So Matthias will, at some point tonight, have to address that situation. The coach is wild, though, on New Orleans, George. That guy Rizzi's nuts. And he's the typical guy, George, that we've seen in the past, has a lot of juice, has a lot of energy. Saints will probably win like 3 or 4 games down the stretch against bad teams. And the owners will be like, well, they must like playing for this guy. And it'll end up being long-term a huge mistake. But he's like the kind of guy that players rally around when he gets named the interim coach. He seems like that type of a guy.
All right, you got the new coach bump, right? You beat Atlanta. You probably shouldn't have, but you did. You play Cleveland this week. It's a possibility. You got the Giants on the schedule. Vegas is on the schedule. Tampa last game of the season. That may not mean anything. You're right. He could win, as you said, 3-4 games.
He will. And he'll play them out of a top 5 pick. Is what
that's exactly where I was going with it. Right? He's going to hurt you. It's going to hurt you because you're not going to get the the Shedeur Sanders of the world, Carson Becks, and Cam Ward and everybody else. So it is funny. It is funny. As the Winnipeg Jets, by the way, just take a 2-1 lead on the power play. A 2-0 in front of Shesterkin. Good defense range is probably not what you want to do.
Can you believe, George, that is nuts. 14-1 to start the season. Like, that's just, and it's Winnipeg, so it's obviously, well, there's two things. It's Winnipeg and it's the NHL, so it's not going to get as much attention as it normally, as something like that should get. But that is nuts to win 14 of your first 15 games in the end. Winning 14 out of 15 games anytime in the NHL is nuts. To win it the first 15 games of the year is really crazy.
It is. Now, listen, if you want to break down schedule-wise, they have had one of the easiest schedules in the NHL by far, but I don't care. You beat 14 out of 15. I don't care if you're playing college hockey. All right, that's still an incredible achievement here. But, Mike, the Winnipeg Jets are the Dallas Cowboys. Usually great regular seasons, and then choke it up during the playoffs, can't beat anybody.
That's the thing. Hellebuck has become one of these guys now, and again, doesn't get the attention because he plays for Winnipeg. But Hellebuck has become a guy that, incredible regular season player, absolute zero in the playoffs. And that's what Hellebuck has been for the Winnipeg Jets. I can't wait. We'll get to, maybe we'll do the Cowboys maybe. I was going to save it for the start of the
Lamar
second
Jackson?
hour. We'll probably have to get to
Could say Lamar
get to
Jackson
it even
too.
earlier.
That guy doesn't perform that well.
If there's anyone who could get an injury, like, you never want to see guys get injured, but Dak's got to be sitting there like, the place is burning down. I'll see you guys later. I'm out of here. I'm done for the year. I'm going to go take a break. Carver and Lisi, SportsGrid Radio. We're back on the grid right after this.
Time to coil up that garden hose. And SportsGrid has you covered with strategies and info on football, baseball, and everything else. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. SportsGrid TV and radio networks are the premier streaming video and audio channels dedicated to serving the sports wagering audience. Found on major smart TV platforms and streaming on SportsGrid Radio and SiriusXM Channel 159. SportsGrid's real-time data, expert commentary, and entertaining analysis transform viewers into informed sports enthusiasts. Our weekday radio lineup begins with the early line at 8 a.m. Eastern with Ben Stevens and Donnie Rightside. Donnie joins Kevin Walsh on Money Line at 11 a.m. Eastern, followed by Football Full Circle at noon Eastern. Kaplan and crew join the party at 1 p.m. Eastern, and Pharrell Coast to Coast keeps things rolling from 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern. Get in the mix with Kevin Walsh and Game Time Decisions at 6 p.m. Eastern. Evenings simmer with Carver and Lisi, then boils over with Gabe Morency on Sports Rage Late Night at 10 p.m. Eastern. To find out where to find SportsGrid that's best for you, go to sportsgrid.com. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Football Full Circle.
That's the game if you're Houston, right? 5-4 now. Last year, you find ways to win games like that. Now everyone's all geared up to play you. You're on Sunday night, Monday night games, and it's just not as easy second time around. They're still a good team, but I don't think they're on the caliber that can challenge Kansas City when everything is said and done. I think they show they're not quite at that level.
It's Football Full Circle with Ben Stevens and Scott Wetzel. Weekdays noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific on the SportsGrid Radio Network. The SportsGrid Radio Network presents This Date in Sports History.
Yeah, we were crooked.
1920, baseball names Judge Kennesaw Mountain Landis as the first commissioner. His first order of business was cleaning up the game after the Black Sox scandal. 8 members of the White Sox, including shoeless Joe Jackson, were forever banned from the game.
Say it ain't so, Joe. Say it ain't so.
For SportsGrid Radio, I'm Mike DeMurgis.
Right before your very eyes, the boys of summer are about to become the champions of fall. MLB playoffs are coming, and SportsGrid will bring you all the angles, strategies, and info. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
And we're back. Carver and Lisi, SportsGrid Radio, SiriusXM, Channel 159. Great to have you here with us. Mike Carver with you. Sans Joe. Joe's out. George Kurtz is in for him as we've got rocking with you on a Tuesday night on the grid. All right, George. We'll have several things to get through. We usually start, though, with the night before's Monday night game. Man, that was a tough watch, George, and that's why I saved it for the shortest segment of the hour, which is this one. That Ram-Dolphin game when we had come off some really good, entertaining primetime games, because the Raven-Bengal game was great on Thursday. The Lion-Texan game was a lot of fun, especially, with the Lion comeback in the second half Sunday night. And then that was just, when teams are kicking field goals all night, George, it really makes me want to smash my head into the wall. I think I fell asleep at one point, and then I woke up and it felt like I didn't miss anything because just nothing was happening in the game. Very tough watch. And let's be honest, George, because really they're two mid-of-the-road, mid-tier teams in the league. That's really what you were watching on Monday night with the Dolphins and the Rams.
This looked like, Mike, an early season Thursday night game. It was sloppy. I mean, how many times was the ball fumbled by the quarterback? It was over and over again. I mean, bad snaps and they couldn't handle it. It was just ugly football. Ugly football. Interceptions here. I mean, it was a slog. It was just a slog, a hard watch for teams that had Tyreek Hill, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, Kyron Williams, Devin Achane. You expect better, much better. Most of us were on the over. That might have been me too, by the way. So and it was at least we didn't have to sweat. You didn't have to sweat it out because you never really had a chance. You already said the 5 field goals that Correa, whatever the guy's name is on LA, kicked it. Good for him, but not good for us.
He missed one too. He had 6 attempts. He missed a field goal too at some point along the way there. So that was unfortunate because, look, what we do on the standalone games. I mean, we load up and we get involved with. We had a lot of guys last night. Whether it was Hill did score. Waddle had because I was on a few Waddle things at 75 yards. Waddle had 55 yards in the first drive of the game. I think he had 2. The rest of the game, he finished with 57. Like, come on. That's what you get to 55 on the first drive. You're like, oh, this is great. This is gonna be a big night. We're gonna do really well here. And then he doesn't see the ball again. It was just so painful. And afterwards, the Dolphins think that they're in it still, George. And really, mathematically, they are, because they're one game back in the loss column from Denver. I mean, Denver's 5-5. Miami's 3-6 now, right? So Denver hasn't had their bye yet, which is why they've played one more game than everybody else. So you look at that. There's 6 teams in the AFC are in, right, George? I don't see those 6 teams at the top coming back to the pack, which is Chiefs, Bills, Ravens, Steelers, Chargers, and Texans. I think those 6 teams have obviously kind of separated. But that last spot is there, whether it's Denver, whether Cincinnati makes a run, the Dolphins make a run. But the Dolphins' schedule is conducive to it because they play, I believe, the Raiders and the Patriots the next 2 weeks. And that gives them a chance to kind of jumpstart themselves before they play Green Bay on Thanksgiving night.
You just said you can't lose either one of those games. They're both at home. You're playing bad teams. You win those both, you're 5-6. Theoretically, you're right there. All right, Cincinnati plays the Chargers this week. And by the way, I'm not automatically putting the Chargers in. I think they get in. I would bet them to get in, by the way. So I think they get in, but I think if we're going to put the top 5 teams, and then I would put the Chargers. And by the way, the only reason Houston's is going to get in is because of the division. They're going to win the division. All right, they're terrible too. But the Chargers, like I said, they're in that sort of they're in heck. They're not in heaven, they're not in hell, they're in heck somewhere. So, but I do think they get in here. Miami also plays the Jets twice. That could be a good thing. Could be a bad thing. I don't know.
Patriots, Raiders, Jets twice. Cleveland. That's
Cleveland's
5.
in here too. Houston, San Fran, Green Bay have a tough games.
Winnable games. They have 3 right now. If they ever won all, now I highly doubt that they would win all 5 because it's just the way the NFL is. They're
gonna have to.
But the 5 would get them to 8.
They're gonna have to win all 5 and then beat Houston, San Fran, or Green Bay to get to 9.
One of them. They'd have to win one of those other 3. And look, you saw it the other night. I don't think Houston's exactly, like you said, they're lucky they're in that division. Carver and Lisi, SportsGrid Radio, George in for Joe. We're back after this on the game.
Fall is here. It's getting cooler. Football and the World Series are coming in. Life is good. SportsGrid makes it better. Get the winning edge. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
If you turned 65 recently like me, It's important you find a Medicare Advantage plan that gives you the coverage you're looking for. But finding one can be difficult. The best thing I did, and I suggest you do the same, is call a licensed insurance agent and let them walk you through your Medicare Advantage plan options. There are so many benefits you have access to, so make the call now and let the representatives explain everything to you. Our licensed insurance agents can offer you a variety of Medicare Advantage plans. Plus, the call is free, the information is free, and there's no obligation to enroll. We're here to make it easy for you to select a Medicare Advantage plan that may work for your needs. Finding a Medicare Advantage plan can be easy if you do what I did. Make a quick call right now to learn more. Thank you.
800-365-6303. 800-365-6303. 800-365-6303. That's 800-365-6303.
The Technology Minute with George Capalbo.
In case you've been worried about AI taking your job and destroying the world economy, perhaps fear not. A large, well-known fast food chain is quietly dropping its AI-powered drive-through automated order-taking system after some mishaps.
Would you like extra sauce with your 2,100 orders of chicken nuggets?
Believe it or not, these are actual scenarios.
I'm sure you asked for 40 dozen pounds of butter.
The fatal flaw? Voice recognition AI that can't identify misidentified spoken orders.
I just want you to know that I have complete confidence in the long-term success of this mission. By the way, here is your 4-gallon can of bacon cob caramel ice cream.
Follow me at Chicapalbo on X and stay tuned to The Technology Minute for more cool stuff like this.
Fall is almost here. It's time to stow the lawnmower and get ready for all that glorious action coming your way. Stay tuned to SportsGrid for all the strategies, angles, and info you need to get the winning edge. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
And we're back. Carver and Lisi, SportsGrid Radio, Sirius XM 159. Great to have you with us here on the grid on a Tuesday night. Mike Carver with you. Sans Joe. Joe out. George Kurtz in. As we've got several things going on here for us this evening. I was just looking, George, just to finish this up. They have the Chargers at minus 470 to the yes to make the playoffs. Minus 470. Plus 340 to the no. They have Denver at plus 184 to the yes. Minus 230 to the no. Those are the two teams that are in the last two spots in the AFC right now. Cincinnati plus 134 to the yes. Minus 164 to the no. So they think that the Bengals will overtake Denver for that last spot, according to the odds the book does at least. They have Miami at plus 290 to the yes, minus 385 to the no. So that's a jump, plus 290 for all that. If you're a believer, George, and I think that there's some out there who might be, you know, the Jets are plus 710 to the yes.
Boy, you're a believer in the Jets, man. And I was at one point. I thought the Jets I said I have a ticket on the Miami Dolphins to win the AFC East because I think I told you in the beginning of the season it was the best value. They had the third, so I took them. Not that I thought they'd do it, but I thought they would certainly put up a better fight than this. But if you want to believe them, the problem is the Jets. I mean, in some way, are you playing Indianapolis Sunday? I think that should be a win, right? I think you're playing Joe Flacco, who's like 900 years old. Then you play Seattle at home.
Indy has better odds than the Jets to make the playoffs. Indy's plus 220 to the yes. And the Jets are 710. Don't they have the same record, Jordan? Aren't they both 3-6? Aren't the Colts 3 or the Colts got 4 wins? Did the Colts get the 4?
I think the reason why Indy would have better chance because there's also a chance they could still win the division while the Jets can't. Right. Indy's 4-6. So I'm guessing that's why Indy has a little bit better shot. We know the Jets aren't catching Buffalo. And listen, the Jets' schedule is nice. I mean, outside of Buffalo again, in week 17, it's in Buffalo. I mean, it's in front of you, right? Indianapolis, they're not great. Seattle, not great. You play Miami twice, not great. Rams, not great, and they're at home. Jacksonville sucks. So
They're
it
finished.
is there, but the problem is the Jets. No, the Jets are finished.
George, you know this. You've been watching this team. You've lived in this town for a long time. They have, no doubt about it, shut it down after Sunday. You listen to some of those guys after that loss in Arizona, they have completely shut it down. Rodgers sounded like he couldn't get back in that bunker with the darkness retreat fast enough after that game on Sunday. He is so finished. They all are gutless. You've got the guys on defense who have been the biggest. Everybody loves bagging on Rodgers. I said this to Scotty yesterday. Everybody loves hitting Rodgers, and rightfully so. He's been bad. But their defense, George, everyone said was ready-made. Best in the NFL. Look at the talent. All three levels. The D-line, the linebackers, the back end, the defensive back. More talent than anyone else on defense. They have been destroyed the past few weeks. I mean, George, getting run over by Arizona in that game on Sunday. Their awful defense. That's been the real amazing part to this Jet season, was that they are packing it in. Finished.
Well, maybe you don't fire your head coach who's a defensive guy, and the defense is playing well at that point. Maybe you just don't do that. Not that I think this all would have mattered all that much anyway, but maybe you just don't do that. Listen, your two biggest disappointments in the NFL are probably the Jets and the Cowboys, right? I mean, probably
hands down by
right?
far.
I mean,
far, no doubt. And at least the Jets now could. I mean, the Cowboys now the wheels were, the train was off the tracks before Dak got hurt, but when it gets real bad now and they finish 5-12, they're going to say, well, we didn't have Dak for the whole November and December.
Yeah,
they could say that.
That'll be a jerk.
The Jets are not going to be able to say that. The Jets are not going to be able to say that at all. This is going to be, and you could see it. You can listen to them and hear it, George. They're packing it up. I'm stunned. Indy's, you're getting 3.5, I think it is, with Indy right now in this game on Sunday. And I know Indy's also, they had their own players. Kenny Moore calling out that they weren't playing up to this. Nobody was trying against the Bills. I think that the Colts will have a little bit more heart than the Jets on Sunday at MetLife. A little bit more heart than them. I think the Jets are calling it.
I doubt I'm betting on it either way. This is an ugly game. One of those games where it remind me of the 80s, Mike. 80s when we had to watch these games. We couldn't watch any other game. You're praying for a 10-minute ticker to show you scores of other games to be interested. Yeah, that's the old Sunday afternoon where 1 o'clock was Jets Indy and the 4 o'clock was Giants Arizona, and you wanted to hang yourself.
They'd go to George. Remember, they'd go to like Will McDonough on the sideline with the cap on, and he'd give you the updates like around the league, and he'd give it like all that.
Loved
like
it.
that's what you would.
Loved it.
That's what you'd be. That was your only way of knowing what was going on in the other games throughout the league. And now it's just we have it all right at our fingertips. It's just amazing how much times have changed. But I think the Jets completely.
The younger generation has no idea what we're talking about, by the way. No idea.
They have no clue. Like you used to, I remember watching these games growing up, late 80s, early 90s. And it was just, there was, we didn't have what we have now. And you literally had to watch.
The 10-minute ticker that came out in the 80s was like the greatest invention ever, folks. Ever. The 10-minute ticker was every 10 minutes, they get all the scores of all the other games. It would flash on the screen. Because all you watched in New York were the Giants and the Jets, and back then they both sucked. And it was just awful football.
That's the only games that you got, aside from the primetime games. Sunday night game, Monday night game. There was occasional
Sunday night
Thursday
game
night games back then. There was no. Yeah, ESPN eventually had Sunday night, right? They eventually started doing ESPN.
As old as I am, there is no Sunday night every once a couple of years you might get a Sunday night game.
I remember in my, obviously growing up when I became a Bills fan was during this time, when the Kelly years, the 90-91, there were Sunday night games at that point on ESPN because I remember watching a few of them. But yeah, it was a whole nother world of trying to watch and consume the NFL as opposed to what it is now, 30 years later. It's just
greatest thing ever was the Sunday ticket. Sunday ticket was the greatest thing ever.
Greatest thing ever.
All my games.
And now you have to have even more than that. You have to have
one thing I'll miss. I don't know if you did this one before the ticket, but one thing I'll miss was going to a bar. go to a sports bar and hanging out with a whole bunch of Cowboy fans playing Philadelphia. Or, what. I listened to this I don't know if you have Bright Fellows ever remember that in East Meadow. There's a great bar. They had every game. You had fans of every team watching their games. It was great. People were cool back then. There were nobody fighting. Just fans watching their games. It was a lot of fun. It was
20, 25 years ago, George. It was for me. McFadden's in New York City on 3rd Avenue is where all the Bills fans went. They went to McFadden's in New York City. That was the Bills backer bar there. And I think they still have one in New York City, but that McFadden's closed a long time ago. And I know it. But when it was there, it was nuts. And it was just great. And that was the play. Because if you didn't have the Sunday ticket, that's where you had to go watch the game. Like, you had to go somewhere that had the Sunday ticket on it. Not everybody had. Now, it wasn't as accessible. You had to have DirecTV. Now you just need YouTube to go and access it. It was such a different time. So me and George doing a little Remember When here on Carver and Lisi tonight. Little Remember When. So that's one of our favorites.
At least you only go back as far as Jim Kelly. I go as far back as Roger Staubach. Okay, I watched him play.
Yeah,
so I'll let you know something.
The first the first NFL games I remember watching was when the Giants beat the Broncos in the Super Bowl in '86. That was I was 6 years old, and I remember Washington the next year destroying Denver. I remember the Super Bowls when I was 6, 7, 8. And the individual games didn't start for me till I was around 10, but the Super Bowls I all remember at that age. Carver and Lisi, SportsGrid Radio, Sirius XM 159. We're back after this.
Yeah, it's getting cooler. Football weather is here. Stay tuned for all the latest odds, strategies, and info. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. The new SportsGrid app is now available on iOS and the App Store. Experience the ultimate sports betting companion that provides personalized content from your favorite hosts. In-depth matchup previews, game and prop picks, live odds, stats, scores, and more. All in one place. And of course, on the SportsGrid app, you can tune into our live television and radio coverage anytime. On the go, wherever you are. Download the SportsGrid app on the iOS App Store now. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. The SportsGrid Radio Network presents This Date in Sports History.
Yeah, we were crooked.
1920, baseball names Judge Kennesaw Mountain Landis as the first commissioner. His first order of business was cleaning up the game after the Black Sox scandal. 8 members of the White Sox, including shoeless Joe Jackson, were forever banned from the game.
Say it ain't so, Joe. Say it ain't so.
For SportsGrid Radio, I'm Mike DeMurgis.
SportsGrid TV and radio networks are the premier streaming video and audio channels dedicated to serving the sports wagering audience. Found on major smart TV platforms and streaming on SportsGrid Radio and Sirius XM Channel 159. SportsGrid's real-time data, expert commentary, and entertaining analysis transform viewers into informed sports enthusiasts. Our weekday radio lineup begins with the early line at 8 a.m. Eastern with Ben Stevens and Donnie Rightside. Donnie joins Kevin Walsh on Moneyline at 11 a.m. Eastern, followed by Football Full Circle at noon Eastern. Kaplan and crew join the party at 1 p.m. Eastern, and Pharrell Coast to Coast keeps things rolling from 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern. Get in the mix with Kevin Walsh and Game Time Decisions at 6 p.m. Eastern. Evenings simmer with Carver and Lisi, then boils over with Gabe Morency on Sports Rage Late Night at 10 p.m. Eastern. To find out where to find SportsGrid that's best for you, go to sportsgrid.com. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
No way football is played in the fall and winter.
Because the hits don't hurt as much when you're numb. Get the lowdown on all the sports action coming up right here.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Yeah. And we're back. Carver and Lisi, SportsGrid Radio, Sirius XM, Channel 159. Here with you on a Tuesday night on the grid. Carver sans Lisi, Joe out on assignment. So, of course, George Kurtz is here, as per usual, on a Tuesday. And we have a lot of things going on. Clearly, there's plenty of hockey, and George has been keeping his eye on that, as he always does. 3-0 Ottawa leads Toronto now there with about a minute to go in the second period. Jets lead the Rangers 3-2, end of 2 at the Garden. Devils still lead 1-0 in Sunrise against the Panthers. Scoreless late first in St. Louis between the Bruins and the Blues. And then you still have Islanders, Oilers, Flames, Canucks, and Jackets and Kraken coming up later on this evening on the left coast in the Pacific Northwest. So we have all of that going. We have NBA tonight, too. Celtics now only up 91-84 on the Hawks. Pistons up 4 on the Heat, 74-40. Magic up 82-64 on the Hornets, blowing them out. Knicks are up 4 on the Sixers at the half, 54-50. Bucks up 32-25 on the Raptors. That game is in Milwaukee. And as far as the college hoops goes, Kansas did beat Michigan State 77-69, so they barely cover that number as well. Duke and Kentucky going to start probably in about 20-25 minutes. I know they're doing all the college football playoff pomp and circumstance now. I'm not sure if they've released any of those yet. Have they started it? Yes, they're about to start it right now. So I'll probably flip over while that's going on, George, and see what's happening there. Why don't we give, if Matthias is with us, and I'm pretty sure that he is, let's give Matthias a chance now. It's podium time for him as his Atlanta Falcons, and me and Joe, actually, George, me and Joe were both on the Saints on Friday night on the show, and that upset Matthias because we both thought the Saints would give a spirited effort for this guy, the Riz man, and sure enough, they did. Matthias, go ahead. Explain to me who you're blaming here for the Falcon loss in New Orleans on Sunday.
It was failure from top to bottom. First half, I put it on Zach Robinson and his terrible play calling on third and shorts, second and shorts, and trying to hit home runs. Playing with your food, not playing smart football, gaining a quick lead. Gave New Orleans some life in the first half. They get a 35-yard field goal blocked to end the half, which even gives the New Orleans Saints some more momentum. But even though they were going into the half 17-7, I still thought the Falcons could come back and win the game. And you know what? They did exactly what I thought they were going to do until it was time to win the game, until it was time to make the big plays in the fourth quarter. Big fumbles by Kirk Cousins, big interception by Kirk Cousins, Koo missing kicks left and right. But even at the end of the game, guys, you could kick a 60-yard field goal to tie the game on fourth down. Instead, they play with their food and try to get a first down. I don't know what the hell they were doing. I don't care that Koo is 2 out of 7 kicks either, Carver. If you got a chance to tie the game with a 60-yard field goal, you do it. The last time the Saints played the Falcons, Koo made a 58-yard field goal to win the game. This time you could give a kid the chance to make a 60-yarder, and they don't do it. But like I said, failure from top to bottom multiple times in the game. Kirk Cousins probably has his second worst game as a Falcon with turnover problems. And yeah, a recipe for disaster.
I mean, these guys are all hitting 60-yarders all over the place this year. Plenty of guys hitting 60. And Koo can hit that. I know he missed a big. Koo can hit a 60-yarder. There's no reason to
He was
not
shook,
give him a
Carver.
shot.
He's been shook, though. That's the thing. I would have still gave him the
shook.
shot.
I saw Arthur
He's shook.
Blank
He is shook.
put the blanket on him after the game, gave him the big hug. Arthur Blank walked him into the locker room because the kid was all upset. I saw it all. You're lucky. Here's the thing, Matthias. The good thing for you is, kind of like what George said about Houston before, is the rest of the division stinks. So, I mean, you're going to be in good shape in that NFC South, and you better be, because as you know, we've got several Falcon tickets from a long time ago that we put in to win this division. So hopefully they do that because I don't see Carolina and New Orleans, and Tampa has been, Baker's played tough, but they don't win anymore.
But what's the end goal here? What's the end goal here? The NFL is a year at a time, a week at a time. You know what I mean? Like, they're going to lose to the Commanders at home in the first round of the playoffs. Like, I think the Falcons have the potential to be a little bit more, but they didn't sign a pass rusher before the trade deadline, which I really do think is going to hurt them. And, I think they think they're better than what they actually think they are. It's like this team has to play disciplined football every single time and act like they're the underdog. These guys are playing like they're the freaking Chiefs, trying to get big plays on every single damn play, man. It's like run the ball, use Bijan Robinson, use play action. I just think they're trying to hit home runs every single play. Can they do it? They can, but man, it's getting old. They're making too many mistakes and letting bad teams stay in the game. They wouldn't play like that against better teams. That against the Panthers, they got away with it. I thought the first half play calling against the Panthers in Carolina was terrible. And then in the second half, they recovered with good play calling, run the ball, throw to open receivers, because there's stuff in the box. They didn't do that against the New Orleans Saints. They just kept doing dumb mistakes. It was such a drunk game for the Atlanta Falcons. It's frustrating because you'd think that coup could get him out of it, and he couldn't do it this time. You know what I mean? It's like they stunk it up, and they deserve to lose the game. But they'll be back against Denver.
That's not an easy trip this week. That's not an easy trip to Denver.
It isn't, but you know what? That's what they need, Carver. That's what this team needs. You're right.
Like it.
It's what this team needs, though. This team, if they play up to that level, they're going to win football games. But when they play bad teams and think that they're not, they're too good to play this team, or they're going to come out and play soft football, they're going to lose because they're not that good. They got to play to their level of football every single game. George knows what I'm talking about. You can't be that mediocre team that thinks you're going to play bad football and win and win games in the NFL. There's only a couple teams like the Lions who can do that. The Lions can get away with that, playing bad football for a half and then coming back and win the game. Not the Falcons.
They can do that. They can get away with that. Carver and Lisi, Sports Grid Radio, Sirius XM 159. We're back here.
The boys of summer become the champions of fall. The World Series is on its way. And SportsGrid brings you every angle. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Do you use the expensive blue or yellow pills to charge your sex life? Are you thinking about it? What if we can promise you the same results for less than $3 a pill? If you're paying $20 a pill for the other pills, you're getting taken to the cleaners. Our pills deliver the exact same results for less than $3. You'll save more than $16 a pill for the same results. And right now, radio callers will get 44 blue or yellow pills for $120 with free discreet shipping. You can save more than $700 off pharmacy prices. Charge your sex life now and save a ton of money. Call now and get your 44 pills and save over $700 and qualify for free shipping. Stop overpaying and call right now.
Paid for by Steelman Pills. 800-823-3851. 800-823-3851. 800-823-3851. That's 800-823-3851.
Football full circle.
He was embarrassingly bad. What is that guy doing in an NFL uniform? He couldn't take a snap from center without fumbling the ball. He had 5 completions for 12 yards at one point in this game. I mean, that's almost mathematically impossible. And they couldn't throw the ball down the field, and you got a wide receiver like CeeDee Lamb, somehow, some way, you can't get him the ball.
It's football full circle with Ben Stevens and Scott Wetzel. Weekdays noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific on the SportsGrid Radio Network. The new SportsGrid app is now available on iOS and the App Store. Experience the ultimate sports betting companion that provides personalized content from your favorite hosts. In-depth matchup previews, game and prop picks, live odds, stats, scores, and more. All in one place. And of course, on the SportsGrid app, you can tune into our live television and radio coverage anytime. On the go, wherever you are. Download the SportsGrid app on the iOS App Store now. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Get sports gaming strategies and information 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Everything you need to get the winning edge. Right here. All the time.
No wonder the wife says you never listen to her.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Yeah, and we're back. Carver and Lisi, SportsGrid Radio, Sirius XM 159. Carver sans Lisi. George Kurtz is in for Joe. We will start the next hour with George's Cowboys. and there's the litany of things that we have to get through with them, and that's become like almost have to get like a weekly like sponsored segment now here when George is in for Joe on Tuesday nights about what went wrong with the Cowboys this week, and we will do all that with him coming up here in a few minutes. So Matthias went to the podium there, George, and we let him do all the talking pretty much in that segment. I don't know. I know you agree with me. That is a very tough trip for them going to Denver this week. You know, Denver's been on the road the last couple weeks. Lost a very tough game to Kansas City on Sunday. Atlanta, second week in a row on the road, going to a place that we know is always very tough to win at. That's a very tricky game for the Falcons this week. A very tricky game.
Agreed. I think the Falcons are the better team. I do. But as you said, tricky place to play. You're dealing with the altitude, which can be can take some getting used to there. Denver's feeling it. They're playing good football. Probably should have beat the Chiefs on Sunday. Right, in Kansas City, by the way. They should have won that game. Unbelievable that they had that field goal blocked. It's funny, Mike, I'm watching that. You know, I was like, I actually said to myself, they'll probably block it. They find, and sure enough, they do. They just find ways to win games, the Chiefs. Unbelievable that they do that. But I don't think this will be an easy win for the Falcons. I think this will be a close game coming down to the end. I actually agree with everything Matthias said about the game, by the way. I might have some pushback on the field goal at the end. I don't think they could have gotten it off. I remember they had no timeouts left. That's why they had to run that stupid play. Why Cousins threw the ball short of the first down marker or didn't go for the end zone is unbelievable to me. That's so much reminded me, Mike, of the when he was at Minnesota, played the Giants in that playoff game where he threw the ball, I want to say to Hawkinson, where a play that meant nothing. What are you doing? I mean, once again, maybe that's why you're not an elite quarterback, because you just don't think that way. But it's amazing to me how many quarterbacks, veteran quarterbacks just don't know how to do a 2-minute drill. They just don't understand it. I mean, it was just weird how that was going on there. But I don't think they really had a chance to even give Koo a shot. There's no way they could have gotten the kicking unit out there. And I think they had like 7 seconds. That wasn't going to happen.
Yeah. Wasn't going to happen, probably. No doubt about that. But look, 2.5's the number as well right now for Denver. -2.5 Denver, 44.5 total. And that's in the late window, 4:05 on Sunday. We will go through most of the games for this week. And this is really, George, when you talk about like this is, I believe, the first week of the season. We've hit week 11, where there are a bunch of huge heavy hitter games on the schedule, and even on Thursday night with obviously Washington and Philadelphia, huge game. Ravens Steelers, huge game. Bills Chiefs, huge game. So you have 3 enormous matchups. Bills Chiefs, I think I saw, George, only the 5th time in the last 40 years or something like that, that 2 teams with 8 wins or more meeting in week 11 or less, or something like that is some crazy stat that they had. So going to be a lot of fun with all these matchups this week, that's for sure. So we'll do that in hour number 2 along with the Cowboys to start the hour off. They're doing the college football playoff rankings right now. And they have Georgia out, by the way. They had Georgia as the first team out in terms of it. I did not think they would fall that far after losing to Ole Miss, but they have. And they still have Miami in there. They have Ole Miss into the poll. They have Indiana at 7. Well, they have them 5 on the rankings, but they're in the 7th slot on the tree. It's confusing the way that they do this now. If you're watching it along, they should just run them down 1 through whatever. But they don't do that because why would those high-powered people in suits who put this thing together actually ever do anything right? That's not what they're good at. They're not good with ever doing anything smart. As far as the hockey goes, you said that the 1-1 now, Devils and Panthers. That was the 1 score change from the last time that we looked. And they are about to start in
guess who
Edmonton. Who was it, George? Who scored for that?
Reinhardt. It's always Reinhardt. Every damn time it's Reinhardt.
For the Panthers. It's amazing. They win a lot, and they really only have like 3 guys that score goals on the team. It's they basically just have 3 lines of grinders and then a couple stars to score, but it works for them. Sure does. Carver and Lisi, SportsGrid Radio, Sirius XM 159. We're back. Hour 2 next on the grid.
Fall is here.
It's getting cooler.
Football and the World Series are coming in.
Life is good. SportsGrid makes it better.
Get the winning edge. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. Sports Rage tonight.
He's going to get a crack at this, Cam. He'll get one. They're not going to give it to him 2 times in a row. This is like perfect area where like they're going to want to go to Chase in the back of the end zone here in a little fade pattern. So here we go. Like they should be able to.
Nope, they're throwing.
Nope. Oh, and it was to Jamar Chase, too. Son of a bitch. They wanted to go to him.
It's Sports Rage Tonight with Gabe Morency. Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific. On the SportsGrid Radio Network.
The Technology Minute with George Capalbo.
In case you've been worried about AI taking your job and destroying the world economy, perhaps fear not. A large, well-known fast food chain is quietly dropping its AI-powered drive-through automated order-taking system after some mishaps.
Would you like extra sauce with your 2,100 orders of chicken nuggets?
Believe it or not, these are actual scenarios.
I'm sure you asked for 40 dozen pounds of butter.
The fatal flaw? Voice recognition AI that can't identify misidentified spoken orders.
I just want you to know that I have complete confidence in the long-term success of this mission. By the way, here is your 4-gallon can of bacon cobbed caramel ice cream.
Follow me at Chicapalvo on X and stay tuned to The Technology Minute for more cool stuff like this.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
You're listening to where real winners go for actionable insights and expert perspectives on daily sporting events.
7 days a week.
It's not a secret or anything.
I mean, we have a promotion budget for Pete's sake.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Please welcome.
It's the opening kickoff with Carver and Lisi.
All right, here we go. Carver and Lisi with you. SportsGrid Radio, Sirius XM, channel 159. Great to have you with us here on the grid. Hour number 2 for us, of course. Mike Carver with you. Sans Joe. Joe out on assignment, which means we have gentleman George Kurtz with us. Blue line, as the Islanders and the Oilers get ready to face off here tonight. We have several other things to do. We got lots of NFL to get to. I did want to just say that now that the whole ranking's out, they have Oregon 1, Ohio State 2, Texas 3, Penn State 4, Indiana 5. 4 of the top 5 teams in this crack, crab, and lobster college football playoff committee ranking are from the Big Ten. So that means only one of them, though, is going to be in those top 4 because of the byes. So that means that Ohio State slips to the 5 and they play Boise. Penn State slips to the 6, they'd play Ole Miss. Indiana slips to the 7, they'd play Alabama. So Big Ten getting the boost over the SEC, which has eaten itself up a little bit more than the Big Ten has this year. Notre Dame at 8. Tennessee is in there as well at 7, as I said. Miami, Alabama, Ole Miss, Boise State. Last 2 teams out, Georgia and SMU. This week's college football playoff rankings, which of course look a lot different from last week when they put the first ones out, and these will look a lot different 3 weeks from now, 4 weeks from now, when they have the final ones, when we get to the actual games being played. So we will keep our eyes on that. All right, George, let's get to it. Cowboy football, which has taken another turn this week. They got completely smashed by the Eagles again at home. I think that's like their 5th straight home loss of 25 plus points or something like that. Like they've lost like I mean, you know better than me. It's unfortunate, but they've just every home game this year and the Packer game in the playoffs last year, they've been beat up at their home gym, at their home arena, I should say. And then you put into this, George, the Dak thing. So hamstring finished, done for the year. Cooper Rush plays. He was awful. It tells you how bad Lance is. That it was like it was almost like the crowd had to bait McCarthy into playing him, George. Like it's like he didn't want to play Lance, but like people were getting so upset watching Cooper Rush that he had no choice, and he had to put him in. And then he was taking him in and out for a little while. That was a disaster. And then the cherry on top. Actually, I don't know, George. I actually probably have 5 more layers I can get to. You have Parsons basically saying what he said about McCarthy after the game. You have the nonsense with the sun and the curtains and CeeDee Lamb and Jerry getting extremely offended about people even questioning the sun. You notice that nobody wants to talk about it now. McCarthy brought it up to McCarthy to start the Monday press conference. He made like some small joke. He's like, because they had covered him up at his press conference. He goes, "Is that a curtain?" Because he didn't want to talk about it. It's getting bad. It's already bad, George. But like, you got 2 months to go here. This Cowboy season has really derailed in some way.
I mean, it's been derailed for months, right? This is not just something that just happened this week or even this season here. The stat you were looking for, by the way, was 5 times under McCarthy, they've lost by 25 points or more at home. They only lost by 3 points to Baltimore earlier this year. Even though Baltimore hammered them, Dallas made the late comeback.
That's right. I forgot
5 times
about
under McCarthy, they've gotten shelled.
They were getting smashed in that game, but they came back and made it close in the fourth quarter. They got killed by the Eagles. They got killed by the Lions. They got killed by the Saints. And I don't know if I'm missing one or not besides that for this year. But then they have the Packer game in the playoffs last. Because they have a lot of home games left too, George. That's the other thing that makes this tough for Jerry is you got a lost year and you got including, 2 Monday night games? Is this Monday night against the Texans? And don't they have a Monday night game with Cincinnati at home as well in early December? Thanksgiving Day.
Let me tell you about that Cincinnati game. Listen, Thanksgiving they're playing the Giants, so I guess there's a chance I won't throw up, right? There's a chance I can enjoy my turkey. Although at that point, I may be rooting for the Cowboys to lose. Maybe get a shot at Hunter or whatever else is going to come across the board there. Alshon Jeffrey could be another guy. But anyway, that Monday night game against Cincinnati, by the way, that's if you haven't heard, the Simpsons are going to do like an alternate broadcast on Nickelodeon. I might watch the alternate broadcast because at least maybe I can laugh a little bit. I like the Simpsons. All right, so other than that, but for the Cowboys, you think about it. You said it; they got annihilated by Green Bay in the playoffs last year, and then shortly after that, Jerry tells you, "We're going all in." All in meant letting all your players go, right? Letting everybody go. They re-signed the long snapper, and then signed Eric Kendricks and Zeke Elliott. That's all you signed. All right, so then you go into training camp. Dak is still, he's playing on the 1 year deal. You hadn't got him signed yet. CeeDee Lamb's holding out. Finally, you give in to them, and I mean give in to them because you gave them every last dime. So what was the point of having them hold out? Why was the point of having CeeDee Lamb hold out? You're going to give them every last dime anyway. Made very little sense. To let you know how bad Dallas is at GM, or Jerry Jones is at GM here. Remember Deron Bland, the guy who returned 18 interceptions for touchdowns last year? He broke his toe. So we started the season on IR. All right, that's normal. Dallas took him off IR. They said he's able to come off IR. You get 3-week practice window. That started. It's been 5 weeks now. They've had to scratch him the last 2 weeks because he's not ready to come back. Why did you take him off IR? All right, Micah Parsons. He missed 6 weeks. Dallas never placed him on IR. Why? Are you the ultimate? Oh, I hope things work out well. I hope this can happen. That's what the Cowboys are. They're all hope. And they're not brains at all here. McCarthy's not a very good coach. We knew that going in. Jerry, by the way, I'm the first person to tell you, Mike, if they fire McCarthy, and I'm sure they will, they're just going to hire the next puppet. It doesn't matter. They're not going to hire anybody real.
Well, first of all, as I believe was discussed in the Micah Parsons post-game press conference situation, McCarthy doesn't have a contract beyond this year, right, George? I believe he's a free agent. He is not signed beyond this season. So, and I think that that's also part of the way to make it a little cleaner for Jerry. I don't think Jerry wants to fire him. Jerry's also said he doesn't like firing coaches in the middle of the season.
He's only done it once.
He's only done it once. It's got to get real bad for that to happen. But I think it's easier for him to just not renew the contract at the end of the year than to fire him while he still has time left on the contract. Is it really his fault this year, though, George? Like, I know that people don't like Mike McCarthy. He wins a lot of games.
Is it McCarthy's fault? No, it's Jerry's fault, but McCarthy's not going to dig you out of it. He's not going to dig you out of anything. But like I said, it's not going to matter because they're not going to hire a real coach anyway. It's the Yankees with Boone. Even if Cashman fired Boone, he would just hire the next guy who's going to do everything he says and does everything he wants. They're not going to hire real people. Jerry wants to run this team. It is the way it is here. If you're a Cowboy fan, you got to live with it. Every now and then they'll have good years, but for the most part, Jerry's going to do what he wants to do, what he believes. He believes he's doing I'm the best GM this team could ever have. Sure, Jerry, it's been 30 years since you made a championship game, but yeah, you're the best. Absolutely. The problem is not you.
He's 45-31 as the Cowboy coach, including this year. So 3-6 this year. So he was 42-25 coming into this year. This is like with Sirianni with Philly. Like, I could find teams in worse situations in terms of head coaches. I can find them.
Oh, sure.
But I think the real problem is, and you said it, problem is the old man still thinking that he's the general manager.
Not going to change while he's coach.
And he's
not going to change while he's head coach. Well, while he's the owner, it's not going to change.
Yeah, it's not going to change. Carver and Lisi, SportsGrid Radio, Sirius XM 159. George and Joe, we're back in.
Time to coil up that garden hose.
And SportsGrid has you covered with strategies and info on football, baseball, and everything else. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. The new SportsGrid app is now available on iOS and the App Store. Experience the ultimate sports betting companion that provides personalized content from your favorite hosts. In-depth matchup previews, game and prop picks, live odds, stats, scores, and more. All in one place. And of course, on the SportsGrid app, you can tune into our live television and radio coverage anytime. On the go, wherever you are. Download the SportsGrid app on the iOS App Store now. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Sports Rage tonight.
He's going to get a crack at this, Cam. He'll get one. They're not going to give it to him 2 times in a row. This is like perfect area where like they're going to want to go to Chase in the back of the end zone here in a little fade pattern. So here we go. Like they should be able to.
Nope, they're throwing.
Nope. Oh, it was to Jamar Chase, too. Son of a bitch. They wanted to go to him.
It's Sports Rage Tonight with Gabe Morency. Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific. On the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Know someone with a drinking or drug problem? Learn how to get sober after we share these stories.
I was 35 with 2 beautiful children when my life and addiction started to spiral out of control. After my divorce, I went into a depression cycle and started drinking more often and using prescription drugs. After my second DWI and arrest, my ex-husband threatened to take our children away from me.
I was 17 when I became addicted to heroin and meth. I thought I could quit on my own, but I couldn't. It hit me when I was arrested.
Get sober now. Your private insurance may cover costs and we'll get you here. It's simple. Just call Elite Rehab Placement right now. Please, don't wait. Your life matters to us.
800-959-6348. 800-959-6348. 800-959-6348. Call right now before it's too late. That's 800-959-6348.
Days are getting cooler
and shadows are getting longer.
You know what that means? It's football weather. So bundle up and keep it here for all the latest strategies and gridiron information.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
And we're back. Carver and Lisi with you, SportsGrid Radio, Sirius XM 159. Joe out and George Kurtz in, as usual, this time of the week. We did all that, George, and you didn't even get to the dopey curtain with CeeDee Lamb not being able to see the ball in the sun, and it really it really does blow your mind. Like, what's the deal with the curtain, George? Like, and Jerry was very defensive about it
On a
after
rant.
the game.
We'll tear a stadium down. What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
You don't like anything bad being said about his baby. That place is his baby. You don't want to hear it. You don't want to hear it.
He tried to defend. Did you hear what he said today? He actually tried to defend it, that it gives us the advantage. It gives us home field advantage. How?
No, it doesn't.
How?
No,
I mean, at the very least, it's because we know the son's there. Well, apparently you don't. Maybe Kellen Moore did, because Kellen Moore spoke up that, we were aware of it when I was the OC there. Maybe he was aware of it. Mike McCarthy's not, and you can't call plays like that. But that, it's just idiotic. Put curtains there. The WWE had a big thing there, and they put curtains there. They showed it today. They put curtains.
The curtains are there.
They have curtains. Put the damn things.
Close them.
By the way, don't we have some kind of chemical you can put on the window anyway to stop the glare? I mean, this is 2024. I got to believe we have something besides curtains.
We gotta,
if you didn't like that look.
We gotta make it like a feel like we're outside, is what he said. The stadium is designed to feel like you're outside, even though you're not. That was the whole thing, George.
He doesn't care about winning. Jerry Jones, he's the greatest salesman ever. He does not care about winning. He cares about making money. And you just said it. This is his baby. He doesn't want to make his baby look a little bit off. So it's just another reason to be infuriated.
Now, let me ask you this for the future of this team. And look, Jerry, as you said, he is going to continue to be the general manager of this team until he passes away. Like, unless he gets something where he gets real sick or something. When Steven takes over, which that day will come, George. One day, whenever that is, the day will come when Steven is next in line. He's going to actually hire a football guy, right? Or is he going to be like his dad and pretend to be the GM? Is he going to be the GM? Because he kind of talks like Jerry has groomed him to that. He will do what Jerry does when Jerry is not the owner, around to do it anymore. Is that Steven's going to be the general manager in a team and take over for Jerry? Everything that Jerry does, Steven's going to take over when that time comes.
Steven is not as egotistical as Jerry, so there's a chance he would realize that this is not the right way to do it. A chance. If you wanted me to give you numbers here, I think Steven's going to do it the same way. He might hire somebody to be under him to give him advice, like a bench manager in baseball. But you already said it. Jerry has sort of groomed it that this is the way it has to be done. I guess Steven's not a nutcase, and by the way, I think he'd be better at it than Jerry anyway, for whatever that's worth. But I think he's going to do it the same way. But like I said, he might have a bench manager to help him out here. It's the best I can give you. I would hope he'd hire somebody that they'd learn their lesson here. But and by the way, if only the Cowboys would have known they were going to implode. Because if you knew you were going to implode, you never signed Dak, right? Why do you sign Dak to that contract? Because you're not going to be good next year. All right, you may not implode like you did this year, but you're not going to be good next year. It might be 2 years down the line before you can start rebuilding this, and you're still going to give Micah a hell of a contract too. So you're going to have three guys that are going to, in Lamb, Micah, and Dak that have an enormous amount of the cap here. Maybe you do have to trade Micah and treat Micah Parsons like Herschel Walker and get as many number one picks as you can.
I would trade him either way. To be quite honest with you, George, I would trade him either way. I think he's a very good player. I think he's a severely overrated player. And he's also becoming not worth
distraction
it off the field. He's just not. He's not worth it. Like, he's just not, like, I don't know. I just don't see it, George. I don't see him showing up in the biggest spots when they need it.
That's true. That's true.
And just it doesn't make a lot of sense to me how everyone basically has him as the next LT when there is nowhere near close to being that. They play Houston on Monday night.
Loss.
7.5. The Texans are favored in Dallas. Did you see enough of Cooper Rush already? You're ready to just give Trey Lance the full ride here the rest of the year and see what you have?
You might as well, but we saw plenty of Trey Lance in preseason. Listen, Shanahan couldn't fix him. McCarthy wasn't going to. Right, he's done. He just couldn't do it in the NFL. For whatever reason, he couldn't do it at the NFL level here. Would I rather see him than Cooper? Sure. I just don't think it matters, Mike. I don't think it matters who you put there. You still have no running game. Your defense is in shambles. They have 11 guys on the IR. They are a banged-up team.
Well,
all right, it is
Lance
what it is
could,
here.
Lance
Yes, I got
can
that flavor.
give you a running game himself. He could be the running game.
He can be
Lance
your, he can be your
running
legs.
game. Which I think that reason alone, because as you said, they have no running game, at least if he's in there, there's potentially somewhat of a running game. Potentially. Depending on if they... Now, I'm sure they're not stubborn enough. They're probably too stubborn to modify the playbook a little bit and throw in a little bit more quarterback design.
They've already said Rush is going to start. Of course they did. We'll deal with Cooper Rush. He'll throw two more. Cooper Rush could be a decent quarterback, but he doesn't have the arm strength, and the Cowboy receivers don't separate well. So he's going to get balls knocked down. If he's off a little bit, they're going to get picked off.
Unbelievable. It really is. Unbelievable. All right. We have a lot of games this week that we are going to go through. Me and George will rip through some of them when we come back, including those three big ones. And the Thursday night game is huge this week as the two teams that are at the top of the NFC East, Philadelphia and Washington, will get together for the first time this year. Big spot for Washington as they're coming off that loss to the Steelers. And, it's been a feel-good story for them, George, but, it's weird. If you lose this game on Thursday night and suddenly you went from 7-2 to then 4 days later you're 7-4 and you're like 2 games out of first to the NFC East and the NFC is very competitive this year, suddenly the season looks a lot different for Washington coming down the stretch, whether they win or lose this game coming up here on Thursday. We'll talk about it when we come back. Carver and Lisi, SportsGrid Radio. George in for Joe. We're back on the grid right after this.
Don't look like an idiot at work. Know your stuff. Football and everything else. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. Football Full Circle.
That's a game if you're Houston, right? 5-4 now. Last year, you find ways to win games like that. Now everyone's all geared up to play you. You're on Sunday night, Monday night games, and it's just not as easy second time around. They're still a good team, but I don't think they're on the caliber that can challenge Kansas City when everything is said and done. I think they show they're not quite at that level.
It's Football Full Circle with Ben Stevens and Scott Wetzel. Weekdays noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific on the SportsGrid Radio Network. The SportsGrid Radio Network presents This Date in Sports History.
Yeah, we were crooked.
1920, baseball names Judge Kennesaw Mountain Landis as the first commissioner. His first order of business was cleaning up the game after the Black Sox scandal. 8 members of the White Sox, including shoeless Joe Jackson, were forever banned from the game.
Say it ain't so, Joe. Say it ain't so.
For SportsGrid Radio, I'm Mike DeMurgis.
SportsGrid TV and radio networks are the premier streaming video and audio channels dedicated to serving the sports wagering audience. Found on major smart TV platforms and streaming on SportsGrid Radio and SiriusXM Channel 159. SportsGrid's real-time data, expert commentary, and entertaining analysis transform viewers into informed sports enthusiasts. Our weekday radio lineup begins with the early line at 8 a.m. Eastern with Ben Stevens and Donnie Rightside. Donnie joins Kevin Walsh on Moneyline at 11 a.m. Eastern, followed by Football Full Circle at noon Eastern. Kaplan and crew join the party at 1 p.m. Eastern, and Pharrell Coast to Coast keeps things rolling from 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern. Get in the mix with Kevin Walsh and Game Time Decisions at 6 p.m. Eastern. Evenings simmer with Carver and Lisi, then boils over with Gabe Morency on Sports Rage Late Night at 10 p.m. Eastern. To find out where to find SportsGrid that's best for you, go to sportsgrid.com. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Days are getting cooler and shadows are getting longer. You know what that means? It's football weather. So bundle up and keep it here for all the latest strategies and gridiron information. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
We're back. Carver and Lisi, SportsGrid Radio, SiriusXM 159. Carver Sands, Lisi, Joe out, George Kurtz in. Quickly, just to keep you updated on a few things. Number one, the Hawks beat the Celtics 117-116. They were 16.5 point dogs in this game, pregame, and they stormed back. They were down big at the half. They outscored them by 5, 6, 7, 8, by 12 in the second half to come all the way back and get it done. 117-116. That was with no Trae Young either, so nice win for the Hawks. You also had the Magic blew out the Hornets. They're going to overtime in Detroit. Heat and the Pistons tied at 111. Knicks Sixers very close as they go to the fourth quarter there, 78-75. Bucks up 3 on the Raptors as they start the second half. So some close games here in this NBA Cup this evening. The Islanders and the Oilers, if you had the goal in the first 10 to the no, you're a winner. Scoreless as they hit about the 9.5-minute mark in the first. The Jets now lead the Rangers 4-3, George. Not good for the under. 4-3 Winnipeg.
5-3.
Not good. 5-3. Not good for the
They
under.
just scored,
George. Very bad for the
Yeah, that's one
under
way of putting
there.
it. Yeah, that'd be pretty awful for the under. Hey, at least they
Bad for the
destroyed it.
under.
If I'm going to lose, destroy it.
Yeah.
I don't want to lose by the where it's in the middle here. But no, they directed here. So lost a loss.
You hate losing with the empty net. That's when you hate losing.
Yes,
You hate
that
losing
too.
if the game's 3-2. It's a 5.5. You got the under, and you're just trying to hold on, and they get that empty net for 4-2. That's just the worst. It's the absolute worst. Or when or even worse, George, when the team gets the empty netter and they're up 2 to kill it under or something. That is the worst as well. You got yourself.
They pull the goalie so early now too. It's always a pain.
4-2 game and it's 6.5. 4-2 game and the total 6.5. Pulling the goalie down 2 with a minute left, and they end up making it 5-2, and it just breaks your heart. Devils lead the Panthers 2-1, end of 2 in Sunrise, and the Blues lead the Bruins 1-0. George, what do you think of this Washington-Philly game here on Thursday night? Eagles minus 3.5, 48.5 total. Washington got obviously off to a hot start. And look, it's not like they've cooled off. They've lost one game, but they're 7-3. One thing I think you do take notice of is ever since that rib injury, Daniels, they've been getting by, but I don't think he's been the same, and the offense has been the same. He's not as dynamic, but they've still managed. I mean, they were a couple plays away from beating the Steelers anyway on Sunday. What do you think about them playing their first big division game of the year? Because beating the Giants twice doesn't matter. This is where it matters. You got the Eagles here, big Thursday night game in Philadelphia. Do you think the kid shows up and plays well?
I think it's where I'm going to say the beginning of the end as far as Washington winning the division is, right? Or if maybe it's already happened here. I think Philadelphia kicks butt here. I do. Washington's still a banged up team. Lattimore, it's why, I don't like when you acquire players who are hurt. He's not practicing yet. He's still not going to play, or more than likely not going to play Thursday. Brian Robinson's banged up as well. The running back here, you mentioned Daniels is banged up, but he's playing here. Philadelphia's getting healthier. Right, they're getting healthier. It's at home Thursday night here. Washington, yeah, okay. You lose Pittsburgh, no big deal. Remember, Mike, they should have lost to Chicago too. All right, that Hail Mary thing with the defenders out and yelling at the fans here. And by the way, you want to talk about a play that defined the season? The Bears lose that game. That defender got suspended, right, or benched, or whatever the hell you want to call it. They have to fire the offensive coordinator. They haven't won a game since. The Bears are in a free fall since that Hail Mary.
Let's get into that a little bit, George, when we come back, because they did fire Waldron on Tuesday morning. And there was actually some other information that I thought was very interesting that came out too, and that we should absolutely get into a little bit. I think the Eagles are playing their best football of the year. I mean, you just look at what they've done the past, and I know they didn't cover the game with Jacksonville, and they were killing them, and they let them get back in the game, and yes, they've been spotty with things like that at times, but I think they're the best team in that division, and I think that after they win on Thursday night, they're going to be able to, I'm not going to say cruise to the division title, but they're going to put themselves in some very good position going forward. Carver and Lisi, SportsGrid Radio, Sirius XM, Channel 159. We're back on the grid right after this.
Loser is kind of a mean-spirited slur.
But it doesn't have to stick.
Tell them to listen to SportsGrid and fix it.
No, thank you. Later.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. The new SportsGrid app is now available on iOS and the App Store. Experience the ultimate sports betting companion that provides personalized content from your favorite hosts. In-depth matchup previews, game and prop picks, live odds, stats, scores, and more. All in one place. And of course, on the SportsGrid app, you can tune into our live television and radio coverage anytime. On the go, wherever you are. Download the SportsGrid app on the iOS App Store now. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Money line.
I wonder if Jerry's owner's box was in the sun the entire time where they couldn't see the game. Would they put up curtains? You know they would. But the fact that Jerry sits on the sideline is like, ooh, isn't it a nice aesthetic where like the sun comes through those windows during the game? Meanwhile, it's costing his team touchdowns, and there's no reason for it to happen.
Catch Moneyline with Donnie Rightside and Kevin Walsh. Weekdays, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 Pacific on the SportsGrid Radio Network.
If you turned 65 recently like me, it's important you find a Medicare Advantage plan that gives you the coverage you're looking for. But finding one can be difficult. The best thing I did, and I suggest you do the same, is call a licensed insurance agent and let them walk you through your Medicare Advantage plan options. There are so many benefits you have access to, so make the call now and let the representatives explain everything to you. Our licensed insurance agents can offer you a variety of Medicare Advantage plans. Plus, the call is free, the information is free, and there's no obligation to enroll. We're here to make it easy for you to select a Medicare Advantage plan that may work for your needs. Finding a Medicare Advantage plan can be easy if you do what I did. Make a quick call right now to learn more. Thank you.
800-365-6303. 800-365-6303. 800-365-6303. That's 800-365-6303.
No way football is played in the fall and winter.
Because the hits don't hurt as much when you're numb. Get the lowdown on all the sports action coming up right here.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Yeah. And we're back. Carver and Lisi, SportsGrid Radio, Sirius XM 159. Great to have you with us here on the grid. Carver, Sands, Lisi, Joe out. George Kurtz in with us here, of course, as always this time of the week. You brought up the Bears thing, George, and let's spend a couple of minutes on that here. Their season has completely gone in the tank. And yes, you could focus it on that moment, which was losing that Hail Mary game to Washington, which I guess is really where you'd have to go to, because when they beat the Jags, they beat the Jaguars in London on October the 13th, heading into their bye week. They were 4-2 after winning that game. Things look great. That was when the whole division was over 500, right? NFC North. Yeah, everybody's playing well. Everybody's doing it. They come off the bye. They lose the Hail Mary game, which is, you're right. If they win that game, they would have been 5-2 going into these games with Arizona and New England. Instead, they lose the Hail Mary game. They go out to Arizona and get absolutely demolished by the Cardinals, and then roll that in to getting embarrassed at home by the Patriots, who are one of the worst teams in football this year. 19-3 at home. Eberflus, these press conferences have become comedy at this point. Listening to him really just fumble through and not say much, just like a lot of word salad and trying to figure out what to say. Then he fires this Waldron, the offensive coordinator, on Tuesday morning. So we're running out of people to blame, is what that comes down to. And then there was even a report from ESPN in Chicago that a couple of the veteran players who met with Poles and Eberflus about firing Waldron also said that they should sit down Caleb Williams and start Tyson Badgett, undrafted no name who did start a few games last year when Fields was hurt, but over the number one overall in the pick in the draft this year, Caleb Williams. Man, George, you talk about, you might be right. One play completely flipping your entire season over. It was that Hail Mary play for the Bears in Washington. Unbelievable.
It's not just that they're losing, it's how they're losing. Mike, last 3 games, they've scored 27 total points. All right, you watch these games, and listen, I'm not watching a lot of Chicago Bears. It's boring football right now. But Williams is also getting killed. Now, granted, he holds the ball too long, and that's part of being a rookie quarterback, right? You got to be taught to get rid of the ball. Sometimes sometimes throwing the ball away is okay. Don't take a sack. Don't take the hit if you have nobody's open there. But he's holding the ball forever here. But here's the problem, Mike. Green Bay, Minnesota, Detroit, San Fran.
They haven't played a division game
Minnesota,
yet.
Detroit,
They haven't
Seattle,
played a division game
Green
yet.
Bay.
They got 6 division games. They haven't played anyone.
When's their next win coming?
And they're in the the best division in football this year if you go by wins and losses. They're in the best one. And they haven't played one division game yet.
I don't know if they win 2 more games the rest of the season. I mean, Eberflus is done, right? He'll be fired eventually, if not during season, shortly after on Black Monday, come what is it, January, whatever it is. He'll be gone on McCarthy, Olbrich with the Jets, maybe Dable with the Giants. They're all going. It's going to be a very busy Black Monday. But Eberflus probably should. I don't understand why when you're going to draft a top quarterback, why did you keep Eberflus? Don't you have to hire a guy you trust to once again raise this quarterback? And Eberflus was never going to be that guy.
It was one of the biggest mistakes, and this is why, and I do this all the time, and George, even you're with me on Tuesdays now, you're probably sick of it. There's just certain franchises that they will never get out of their own way. And the Bears have become one of those teams. They're not on the Jet, Cleveland Brown, Clipper type of level because, they've had past success, but they have now become a team that it don't matter. They will always do the wrong thing. Why they didn't completely start fresh with a whole new coach, staff, everything to be linked with Williams when he was drafted makes absolutely no sense. We've seen this now a bunch of times in the past 10 to 15 years with this, you draft this quarterback, first overall or even in the top 5, and then you're firing the coach a year later, and then you're making your rookie quarterback learn a whole nother new system in his second year in the league. He's already had to absorb so much in his. It ain't easy. Not all Peyton Manning. They don't all come out and just, they're ready to go. They don't wait anymore either. They've got to play now. And all it does is, it makes it faster before they get tossed away. And I think that's why, George, you now see these guys that are able to hang around and get a second, in some cases, guys, a third shot when they finally get in a supportive system, a good organization, good people around them, you see they can play. Some of those examples are Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold. You get them out of the miserable situations they were drafted into, and you get them into good ones, things change. And could that, Caleb Williams you can now say it, and it's only 10 games in or whatever. He's been drafted into a miserable situation. Should have never had Eberflus as his coach this year. Never. They've never had that. And now he's going to start fresh with someone else next year. And you don't even know, George, what do you think of him? Have you seen anything from him this year that makes you think, we got it? Same thing happened to Lawrence, right? Lawrence got tied to Urban Meyer. They had to fire Urban Meyer the first year. Peterson comes in. Now we're starting to see, why the hell did you give the guy $275 million? But, I don't understand what these teams think about, George, when they make these moves. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
I'm right there with you. I really don't have anything to add to what you said because I agree with you 1,000% here. I think it doesn't make any sense. It's why these teams generally are bad year after year after year after year after year because they don't make the brightest of decisions. And what you said is so true here. When you have the number one pick, or isn't it a top quarterback, you have to make sure you have the right guy to groom him. Right? And we all knew Eberflus was never going to be that. Everybody knew that. He should have been fired last year because the hard part now is they're going to hire a new head coach, whether it's an offensive or defensive guy. He's going to bring in his own OC, his own quarterback guru. You're going to have a whole new system, which means next year now starts off, he's almost a rookie again. Right? He's almost a rookie again next year. So now you wait until 2026 till maybe you see the real Caleb Williams. And listen, I give the Bears some credit. They did give him weapons, right? I mean, you went out and you got Keenan Allen. All right, you got DJ Moore. You drafted a Dunze here. The offensive line, okay, you can't fix that all in one off season. It's going to take some time here. But, I mean, if you don't have the right coach, nothing else really matters here. You have to have the right coach, the right system. And and they almost have to start all over from scratch here. I said, I do wonder how the season might have played out if Washington doesn't get the Hail Mary, if that defensive guy whose name I can't remember, who's probably thankful right about now, is not all yelling at the Commander fans there, just idiotic. If they win that game, maybe they don't implode against Arizona and New England. Maybe they do anyway. Maybe this doesn't matter here. And it may not have mattered anyway, Mike, because the rest of that schedule is not going to change, right? Green Bay, Minnesota, Detroit, San Fran, Minnesota, Detroit, Seattle, Green Bay. Good luck to you. Like I said, you may not win more than 2 games the rest of the year, no matter what.
Might not. Absolutely amazing what some of these teams do. It really is. You just can't figure it out. All right, we'll come back. 2 huge games on Sunday. Ravens Steelers, Bills Chiefs. Talk about those next. Carver and Lisi, George in for Joe. We're back after this.
Yeah, it's getting cooler. Football weather is here. Stay tuned for all the latest odds, strategies, and info. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. Sports Rage tonight.
He's going to get a crack at this, Cam. He'll get one. They're not going to give it to him 2 times in a row. This is like perfect area where they're going to want to go to Chase in the back of the end zone here in a little fade pattern. So here we go. They should be able to.
Nope, they're throwing.
Nope. Oh, and it was to Jamar Chase, too. Son of a bitch. They wanted to go to him.
It's Sports Rage tonight with Gabe Morency. Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific. On the SportsGrid Radio Network. The SportsGrid Radio Network presents This Date in Sports History.
Yeah, we were crooked. 1920, baseball names Judge Kennesaw Mountain Landis as the first commissioner. His first order of business was cleaning up the game after the Black Sox scandal. 8 members of the White Sox, including shoeless Joe Jackson, were forever banned from the game.
Say it ain't so, Joe. Say it ain't so.
For SportsGrid Radio, I'm Mike DeMurgis.
SportsGrid TV and radio networks are the premier streaming video and audio channels dedicated to serving the sports wagering audience. Found on major smart TV platforms and streaming on SportsGrid Radio and SiriusXM Channel 159. SportsGrid's real-time data, expert commentary, and entertaining analysis transform viewers into informed sports enthusiasts. Our weekday radio lineup begins with the early line at 8 a.m. Eastern with Ben Stevens and Donnie Rightside. Donnie joins Kevin Walsh on Money Line at 11 a.m. Eastern, followed by Football Full Circle at noon Eastern. Kaplan and crew join the party at 1 p.m. Eastern, and Pharrell Coast to Coast keeps things rolling from 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern. Get in the mix with Kevin Walsh and Game Time Decisions at 6 p.m. Eastern. Evenings simmer with Carver and Lisi, then boils over with Gabe Morency on Sports Rage Late Night at 10 p.m. Eastern. To find out where to find SportsGrid that's best for you, go to sportsgrid.com. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Fall is almost here.
It's time to stow the lawnmower and get ready for all that glorious action coming your way. Stay tuned to SportsGrid for all the strategies, angles, and info you need to get the winning edge. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
And we're back. Carver and Lisi, SportsGrid Radio, SiriusXM, Channel 159. Great to have you aboard here. Carver, Sands, Lisi, Joe out on assignment. Of course, George Kurtz in for Joe. as we get ready for NFL Week 11. And we're watching some of the live games going on now. All right, George, we haven't mentioned these two games, and I want to get your thoughts on them. First is this Ravens-Steeler game in Pittsburgh on Sunday. Obviously, Steelers have been great, 7-2 now. Ravens 7-3, two best teams in the AFC North. Ravens are favored here on the road, despite, George, all the numbers really shift in the Steelers' favor here. They've beaten the Ravens 7 of the last 8 times they've played them. The Steelers under Tomlin are 20 wins, 6 losses, 3 ties against the spread as home dogs in the Tomlin era. So you have to factor that in. Always tough at home as a dog. Have you seen enough from Russell Wilson the past couple weeks that you think he could beat Lamar Jackson in Pittsburgh on Sunday?
I have 2 thoughts here. One, how the hell did the Cowboys beat the Steelers? I mean, that's bewildering to me. Granted, that was before Russell Wilson.
Said the same thing the other day. He goes, "How the hell did we lose to the Cowboys?" He gets so big about it.
I don't, that was before Russell Wilson, so let's put that little caveat in there. Russell Wilson, all he's doing right now, Mike, is throwing up lob balls, and Pickens is coming down with it. That's what it seems like. He's throwing up those balls, and Pickens is going up and get it. You can probably do that against Baltimore too. Their secondary is not good. All right, this is going to be. I think it's going to be a really good game. These teams don't like each other, which I like that. Love Mike Tomlin, by the way. Someone asked him about how do you feel about Deontay Johnson coming back. I don't know. We haven't seen much of him on film. That's a little dig there, Mike. Little dig.
Yeah.
Dean's not doing that. Not doing much. Not doing much.
Yeah,
that was great.
And Harbaugh takes note of that stuff too. He does. He takes note of those things.
Sure he does.
So he might be putting in some plays for Deontay Johnson this week after hearing that from Mike Tomlin. It's hard for me to go away from the Steelers are just, the one. There's one. Everybody's got that one team that it's very tough for them to beat. And since Lamar Jackson's been the quarterback in Baltimore, the Steelers have kind of been that team for him. He's had a tough time with Mike Tomlin's defense. He's had a tough time with T.J. Watt. He's had a tough time with that crew. And this year, the Steelers actually have some semblance of an offense, which they haven't even had the past few years with Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph and all these guys. So, for me, George, it's the Steelers. We were saying on Monday when it was 3.5, that was the time to get it because I think it'll be under 3 by the time we get to Sunday. I really do.
That's why I'm waiting because I think I'm going to take Baltimore. I think Baltimore's the better team. Listen, this will not be a big bet, mind you, at all. This is what I call a fun bet. Just to have something on the game. I'll probably have more on props. Like a Derrick Henry touchdown, of course, maybe the first touchdown for Derrick Henry. Lamar Jackson's yardage, rushing yardage prop. I'll certainly have that because I think he's going to be running to get done whatever. It's a big game. I mean, I know it's only week 11, but this is a big game. Gives the team the edge in the head-to-head, a little tiebreaker there. So it's a big game. I think Lamar Jackson will run with a reckless abandon to make sure to extend those drives, get that first down to help them win the game here. I said, small bet, but I'm going to go on Baltimore. I think Baltimore, if Buffalo is healthy, it might be Buffalo. I think right now, as teams are currently constructed right now, I think Baltimore might be the best team. They're not perfect. I don't trust that defense, but Kansas City's barely winning and Buffalo's too banged up. So talk to me in 3 weeks. I might change my mind here, but I'm going to say Baltimore's the best team. They win the game, but close.
Well, Buffalo is banged up at the wide receiver position. There's no doubt about that. And they have Kansas City, who, as we mentioned earlier, continues to find ways every week to win these games. They will go to Buffalo on Sunday. Massive game. 2 teams with 8 wins in week 11. It's only like the 5th time ever that it's happened. This was 2.5 yesterday. It's 1.5 now for the Bills with the 46.5 total. Now, the Bills have beaten the Chiefs in the regular season the last 3 years. And they've lost to them in the playoffs, of course, 3 of the last 4 years. So the script says, George, the Bills usually win this one and then lose to them in January. Yep. Everybody obviously thinking, watching the Chiefs the past few weeks, they're due to lose a game with how close the margins have been. I'm still of the camp. I think the Bills could absolutely beat them on Sunday, George, but as a Bills fan, obviously I want them to win every game that they play, but I won't be throwing any parades if they do beat the Chiefs on Sunday, because it's still, what matters is they need to find a way to finally beat them in January. And winning this game, though, could eventually be a precursor to that, George, because like last year they beat them, and then they ended up playing them at home in January. Didn't matter, but I'd still rather play the game in Buffalo in January than go to Kansas City again. So that's the biggest thing about this game for them this week.
Yeah, I think it's going to be, once again, another close game. I don't think either team's going to blow out the other here. I want to take Buffalo. All right, I think this is the game that Kansas City finally, those chickens come home to whatever, roost, whatever the hell that stupid saying is here. So I think this is going to be that game. They've been living dangerously for quite a while here, and I think they eat it this week. All right, so I think Buffalo does correct. But before I place any of my money on it, I know Coleman's out. I need to find out about Cooper and Kincaid. If they're both playing, and I like what I hear, which we'll probably know more tomorrow at practice, we'll get those reports here. I'm going to be, I wouldn't say heavy on Buffalo, but I'm going to like Buffalo a whole bunch in this game. I think Kansas City's they've been living on borrowed time. I think that time comes to an end on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, I hope you're right, because it is massive. The 1 seed's massive now, George. Not only is it home field, but you're the team that doesn't get to play that first weekend. And we've already seen that first weekend's nuts. For everyone that now playing with the 3 games on each side, AFC and NFC. So you want to avoid that, and you want to have everyone come to your building. Bills have a chance with their schedule the rest of the way to maybe have that if they could beat the Chiefs coming up here on Sunday. All right, George, we will come back here. Carver and Lisi, SportsGrid Radio, Sirius XM, channel 159, and we will wrap this puppy up on the grid right after this.
The boys of summer become the champions of fall. The World Series is on its way. And SportsGrid brings you every angle. This is
The Technology Minute with George Capalbo.
In case you've been worried about AI taking your job and destroying the world economy, perhaps fear not. A large, well-known fast food chain is quietly dropping its AI-powered drive-through automated order-taking system after some mishaps.
Would you like extra sauce with your 2,100 orders of chicken nuggets?
Believe it or not, these are actual scenarios.
I'm sure you asked for 40 dozen pounds of butter.
The fatal flaw? Voice recognition AI that can't identify misidentified spoken orders.
I just want you to know that I have complete confidence in the long-term success of this mission. By the way, here is your 4-gallon can of bacon cob caramel ice cream.
Follow me at Chicapalbo on X and stay tuned to The Technology Minute for more cool stuff like this.
Do you use the expensive blue or yellow pills to charge your sex life? Are you thinking about it? What if we can promise you the same results for less than $3 a pill? If you're paying $20 a pill for the other pills, you're getting taken to the cleaners. Our pills deliver the exact same results for less than $3. You'll save more than $16 a pill for the same results. And right now, radio callers will get 44 blue or yellow pills for $120 with free discreet shipping. You can save more than $700 off pharmacy prices. Charge your sex life now and save a ton of money. Call now and get your 44 pills and save over $700 and qualify for free shipping. Stop overpaying and call right now.
Paid for by Steel Man Pills. 800-823-3851. 800-823-3851. 800-823-3851. That's 800-823-3851.
No way football is played in the fall and winter.
Because the hits don't hurt as much when you're numb. Get the lowdown on all the sports action coming up right here.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
And we're back. Carver and Lisi, SportsGrid Radio, Sirius XM 159. Here with you on the grid. All right, George. Before we get out of here, let's do a couple things. Any score in the Islander game yet, George? Are they losing yet? Are they down yet? Are they still scoreless?
Wow. Well, they had a couple of penalty kills. They actually killed them off. So go figure that here. No score Islanders Oilers after one. So we'll see.
Stunning.
That's it. If the Islanders are up into the third period,
development.
boys and girls, bet on Edmonton to come back. The Islanders can't hold a lead to save their lives.
Always. Islanders get up anytime in the third, going into the third, you bet the other team every single time. All right. Let's rip through a few here, George. The big spreads this year have obviously been dicey in the NFL. I think this 13.5 in the Lion game, I think that's the biggest we've had this year, George. I'm trying to remember if we touched 14 at all this year. I'm not sure that we have. But 13.5 for the Lions and the Jags. I ain't as scared, George. I watched. It's going to be like what they did to Tennessee at home a couple weeks ago. I think it's going to be just like that. They're going to smash them.
Yeah, it's going to be an ass-kicking. It might be Mac Jones at quarterback if Lawrence is done for the rest of the year. No, ass-kicking, Detroit. Best team in the NFL.
Now, the Rams off of that bad loss Monday night, many think, all right, they'll get right. They're playing the Patriots. I'm not so sure, George. That's a tricky spot. They got to fly cross-country, the 1 o'clock East Coast kick in Foxborough. They're laying 4.5. That seems a little dicey for me. And the Patriots, say what you want about them, they're in a lot of these games, and they've won a few of them. So I don't know if I want to mess around with laying 4.5 with the Rams on the road in New England.
I agree. The smells a little bit here. That cross-country trip is rough for a 1 o'clock start. That being said, the Rams have to play better than they did. They just have to. But the short week 2 here, I'm going to be tempted to take the Patriots in the points here. Right now, I'm leaving it alone. We'll see how the week plays out here. But this may be something I just don't bother betting, don't bother watching. Just move on to another game.
The Niners, of course, got McCaffrey back last Sunday against the Bucs. And listen, the Bucs gave him everything. Again, Baker's played well. Unfortunately, they just haven't been able to win these games. Now the Niners head home, and they'll have Seattle, a team that they traditionally always beat up on at home. -6.5 and a 49.5. I think Seattle stinks, George. And I know they're off a bye. I don't care.
Over bye, they get DK Metcalf back, but Geno Smith would turn the ball over way too much here. I think McCaffrey comes back to being McCaffrey in this game, right? Gets a big workload here, scores a touchdown here if you want to go for the anytime score. I'm with you. I don't think it's going to be a massive blowout, but I think they do win the game by a touchdown plus.
The Chargers are playing the Sunday night game. This got flexed in against Cincinnati. Chargers -1.5, 46.5 total. And the Chargers have been winning with a very good run game, a very good defense. Herbert making some timely plays. You know, say what you want about Harbaugh. Wherever he goes, he wins. It's pretty amazing. Bengals need every game they can get right now. Every game.
It's a playoff game. The Chargers don't have a great home field advantage here, right? It's a playoff game for the Bengals. You cannot lose this year. Tough loss against versus Baltimore. I'll go back to the well. All right, give me the Bengals. All right, I'll say they're going to win the game, but I don't have a great amount of comments in it. Probably going to go the over as well. They're not going to win a 17-14 game. So there's points going to be scored here on both sides here. Give me the Bengals and the over.
Well, especially because also the Bengal defense is a disgrace. So even a team that sometimes can look a little offensively challenged like the Chargers can, especially with their passing game, I mean, I think they'll even be able to run it, George. Like I think with Dobbins and they got Edwards back this week, like I think they'll even be able to run it all over Cincinnati if need be. So yes, points could be very much in order for that game. You have any interest in the Colts and the Jets on Sunday afternoon at MetLife? You guys said you had none, right? You have no interest.
Not really here. Maybe the Jets will have some life here, but no.
You can't have it. How about with the Raiders and the Dolphins? Dolphins are 7.5 after the win on Monday night against the Raiders.
I mean, they're coming home here. Raiders a bad team here. Raiders, I'm going to go. Boy, I'd rather just tease this game, take the Dolphins -1.5 and find someone else here. I'm not going to feel comfortable going either way here. I think the Raiders are done too. That's another team that's imploding. Bad team, bad organization here. They should be able to cover 7.5, but I'm not going to trust them to do it.
Yeah, that 7.5 is tricky. Raiders, of course, coming off the bye as well. George, tremendous job, as always. Great job by Matthias Burbell. Carver and Lisi, SportsGrid Radio, Sirius XM, Channel 159. Cash some tickets. Have a great night. We'll see you later this week on the grid.
Luck is winning the lottery. Strategy is settling your divorce before cashing in the ticket.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Get